Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another show of the Savvy Real Estate Investor. We have Craig Snyder with us today. Craig is a full-time real estate agent and investor and a part-time plus captain at American Airlines. He and his wife, Alex, formed the Craig Snyder real estate team at Keller Williams Town Center in Virginia Beach. They own several real estate investment companies along with their son, Mitchell. Craig spent 24 years flying in the Navy and is now a New York-based 737 captain at American Airlines. He is also a co-host of the F-14 Tomcats, a podcast about flying the F-14. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Satch. Happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Dude, thank you for your service as well. 24 years in the Navy.
Yes, sir. Naval Academy graduate, and then 24 years flying F-14s, F-18s, T-45s, things like that. Flying off the boat, 7 deployments, retired, and here I am now.
Dude, I love it, man.
Yeah.
And part-time plus captain. How do you that's pretty interesting. So we both have the airline background. We connected through a Facebook group, right? That is about I forget what it was. It's airplane related.
Yeah, airplane and coffee.
Airplane and coffee, yeah, which I got kicked out of.
Really? Oh, yeah. Hell, you got kicked out of it for that post?
Yeah, I got kicked out of it.
All right.
Those guys are funny. I thought it was pretty. I don't know. I didn't think I was doing anything out of the ordinary, right?
The funny thing is, I just left that group like yesterday. I was like, I'm leaving some groups. This one's getting tiresome.
Wow. That's funny.
That's funny. In any case, so can't find you there. Got it.
Yeah. You can't find me there no more. But that's awesome, man. Great accomplishments. One of the questions I'm sure most people have is how are you balancing being a captain, a part-time plus captain at American Airlines, and doing all your real estate investing?
Yeah, great. Hey, thanks, Sasha. That's a good question. And I like to say that I'm a part-time plus pilot because it's like, hey, I'm part-time, but it's a little bit more than that in the sense that I'm out there working, right? And it takes some time. Like I'm home today, but I'm on reserve this month, right? So I've got a 3-day stint starting tomorrow, and they just finished handing out the trips for tomorrow, and I didn't get one. So I guess I get to go to closing tomorrow. I got 2 closings tomorrow for a couple of clients, and we're working some stuff. And my wife is showing a house right now, and I'm on the podcast here, and I'm getting ready to go fly up to New York to then go pick up a trip. And it's a good question. How do I balance that? Well, it's a question I get sometimes from my clients, which is, I have a team, and my team is my wife. We actually started to build out a bigger team. We stopped, regrouped. We were talking about that in the pregame here for the show. We regrouped even just this morning to say, hey, what are we really going for? And then to go forth. So my team is my wife. She helps me when I'm out of the area, and when I'm here, we are out there together working things. So if we have a buyer client that needs to see a property, we go. She can show it when I'm not there. A lot of times things are on the phone. If my son's making or we're working on one of our flips or something like that, a lot of times it's just, things over the phone. Just whether you're doing it from your home, your office, or a hotel room in Detroit, it doesn't really matter. If you're on the phone handling business, it's kind of okay. So I spend a lot of time on my layovers handling business, or walking through the terminal at Charlotte or DFW, kind of, talking over the broadcast. But I'll get some business done in between flights, and it goes pretty well.
You don't feel a little bit distracted? So when you're out flying on a trip and you're like juggling the balls in between, like getting the plane ready and like having to take a phone call, and then it's kind of like lingering in you're on the flight and it's lingering in your brain, like, oh, this thing is waiting for me to reply to it, and I got a 2-hour flight, and you're just taking off, and you're like, damn it.
Well, I tell you, I have to. There's a lot of compartmentalization involved there, because there was a period of time when I first started doing both. I'm like, wow, I was having a hard time balancing that. And then I got to the point, I'm like, oh, hold on a second. Let's do something simple. Let's change our voicemail greeting so that it says, if you don't reach me, call my wife. That was step one. And that handled 75% of it. It was amazing. Like instantaneously, it was amazing, because she's not only a licensed agent and my teammate, she also handles the transactions when I'm out of town and stuff like that. So it goes boom right to her. which is amazing, and it works out great. And then if there's anything else, once I hit the airplane and I open the logbook, I turn the phone off and throw it down, just so I'm out. I focus on what I'm doing, and it's kind of no different than if you go out and you're just out having family day at the beach or something like that. Take your phone, throw it in the car. It really is about the same type of thing. If you're unable to unplug from the business for at least a few hours every day, you probably need to reevaluate where you are in your business. Is kind of how I see things, because we should have at least some level of automation, some level of support, so that it's not all just us. And that's a hard road. And I know we're talking about investors, and I think your podcast, you've said that you're targeting your target audience, or whoever your audience is pilots who are real estate investors, right? And that's who you're looking for. And so a lot of us, I remember my very first investment deal. I'm part of a syndication, and there were like 9 of us that went in on this very large duplex. And I think I had to wire like $20,000 or something like that. And I remember the wire instructions went through, and I'm sitting there at the gate at Charlotte. I couldn't get a good signal, and I'm really worried because it's a wire. And I'm like, my money's going to get stolen, and it's all bad. And I was really worried about it. This is like 4 years ago. And I was really, really concerned about that. And that was something where, I had to I've since come to terms with it. But if you're not able to compartmentalize and really focus on what you're doing, it can be difficult. But I figured that out.
Yeah.
I think we can all figure that out, because if we're all professional pilots, it's what we do.
Right. It's so funny. There's so many things that translate over. So we have so many checklists in our company for every department, right? And the guys in our company don't think anything of it. But obviously, me coming from the airlines, I'm like, checklist. I think it's funny that we use a checklist, right? But we need it, man. We need a checklist, and it's like every department has a checklist they go through to make sure that everything especially before they pass on any deal that goes from one person to the next, that checklist is crucial, because otherwise we have too much back and forth between them, and it just delays the process, and now everything slows down. So yeah, man, we do have a lot of automation, outsourcing. What are all the things that you are automating and outsourcing in your business to be more efficient?
Well, that's a great. So let's come back to that for a second. Talk about the checklist. We have checklist after checklist after checklist of how we do things, right? And it's to the basically triggers and flows. When this happens, it creates this. We pull this checklist out, staple it to the top of the folder, and just start rocking, right? And that's what we do. And so every morning, my wife and I get out. We sit down with the folders, we go over it, what needs to get done, what's next, bang, 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 and we handle it. And it's amazing how much faster the day goes when you just follow it. Boom, and it's done. I also, when I meet with a client for a new listing, I laugh because a lot of my clients are pilots as well, right? That's who I know. And so I'll pull out my paper and I'll snap it and go, I'm a pilot, so I use a checklist. And that always gets a chuckle from the pilots because they laugh. And then I'm no kidding follow it. And I'm not a slick sales presentation. There's nothing. It's like, all right, we're going through it, and we're going to just start one by one. Here's what I need to know, and here's what you need to know. And we just rock and roll. And it takes you through the whole process. And by the end of it, everybody knows what's going to happen. Same thing happens if you're buying an investment property or whatever the case is. You got this checklist. Hey, what do we need to know? What's the process? Who's responsible? And go. And that's that. Now that's an evolving process, because just like today, I had a call 20 minutes before the podcast from the attorney's office, and they say we're closing tomorrow on one of these 2 properties, and well, both of them are going sideways, and one of them it's like, hey, we're missing this document. And I said to her, I go, what did we miss? How is it that we thought we handed this to you 30 days ago? We thought we had this. So obviously we missed something. Where did we miss that? And it's funny because between the 2 of us, we go, I don't know. We thought we had it too, but we can't find it. So we have a process, but it's not perfect. It's evolving. We need to revisit that process and see what we did wrong to do that. You also asked about automation, and basically, for the automation piece, we all have our tech stack of what we're using, whether it's a CRM or things like that. I don't know. Do you use a CRM in your business?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you use?
Podio.
Podio. Okay. The standard real estate investor uses Podio. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm more retail focused with both investors. So I'm an agent investor. So I do both. And I have a lot more retail type opportunities. And I just track all of my investor opportunities through my CRM. And I use a couple, I've gone back and forth to a whole bunch. Our very first one was REI Black Book, which is a very automated, if you're familiar with that one.
Yep.
Very automated system. You can do anything with REI Black Book. That thing it is wired, but I tell you what, it can be a little bit complicated if you're not familiar with how to use it. But it is a great platform there. So
which those books. That can be tied into not to be finding resemblances between flying and real estate, but you know how it is something that we practice and we talk about, that if you don't know how to use an automation part of the airplane, ends up being more what's the right word I'm looking for?
It's more effort, it's more work, and you're more prone to error.
More prone to error if you don't know how to use the right automation, like the autopilot, right? Once you learn how to use the autopilot, I mean, you use that thing for everything. But if you don't know how to use it, it can result in very, very bad consequences, right? So like, something that is very automated, knowing how to make it work and how to use it can result in very effective, or it can result in very bad situations, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So, and that's a great point. And so we have we moved on past REI Black Book for a couple of different reasons, just because it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. And but it's a great platform. I really like it. And we've shifted, and I'm actually in the process of going back to one that I've used before that's unrelated. But what do we have? We have some. We use Zapier to integrate between. I use Follow Up Boss, which is my CRM. It integrates amazingly with a whole bunch of things, and it goes straight to our email culturing. Like if you get into my database, now you're getting every 3 weeks, you're going to get an email where these folks, they bring up this company called Happy Grasshopper. They really help with the ad copy, and it's absolutely amazing. And it integrates amazingly with Follow Up Boss. And then I zap things from there straight to Gmail, and I can take an AM card, so it sends out greeting cards and things like that. So this is how we build our client base. And most importantly, it allows me to keep track of who to reach out to. And you'll say, well, what do you mean by that? And what I mean by that is we've done a lot of different deals with a lot of different people. Nobody says yes on the first phone call. Nobody says yes on the first postcard or whatever it is that you do. We've done I tracked the number of touches I sometimes do on on a lead before they either become a client or somebody I buy a property from, or whatever the case is. And my record high where I got to yes was 26. And I say that's my record because that's as far as I counted. But I know that there are others where I've been in touch with them even more. And I'm a retail agent with Keller Williams when it comes to the retail side, and Gary Keller has the red book. He also has, which is Millionaire Real Estate Agent. He has the blue book, Millionaire Real Estate Investor, which I don't have here in the office there at home. But he talks through developing leads, and one of the things he talks in there is people is a 33 touch campaign, meaning 33 touches in a year. Pretty sure I do more than 33 per year on a typical client. And that's not just emails, because emails, whatever. Right. That's phone calls, mail, email, an occasional text message. I don't do auto text. I don't do ringless voicemails anymore. I do a lot, or used to do a lot of cold calling, but I'm absolutely all over the phone. Like I typically, when I'm really rocking, I'm making anywhere between 40 and 100 phone calls before noon. And that's kind of where I am. Now, those aren't all conversations, because people don't answer the phone all the time, but that's me making phone calls. And so we're constantly working and constantly out there talking to people. And once we get them into the CRM, that CRM keeps people at the top of the funnel, or that's the wrong term, basically keeps them at the top of the list and says, hey, Craig, it's time for you to reach out and call Satch. It's time for you to send a text message. It's time for you to reach out to this person, because otherwise you lose track. And it works. And I'll tell you, if anybody is trying to get into this business and they want to go direct to seller, the first thing to do, very first thing to do is just pick up the phone and call the people you know. And I would take a list and I mean, I don't know how many people it is that you know closely that you feel comfortable calling, 50, 100, 200, and put them in a list and you say, I'm going to call 10 a week. And I did that. I need to do that more because I did that just for fun the first 2 weeks of January this year. I said, I'm starting over. New January 1, whatever, I'm starting over. And I started doing that. By the end of the second week, I had generated 3 pieces of business. One of those closes in like 2 weeks, right? So this is from January.
Wow.
So we had 3 pieces of business and got 2 job offers.
No way.
I call guys up. They're like, "Hey, Greg, it's great to talk to you. I haven't talked to you for a while." I'm like, "Yeah, how you doing, Satch?" Like, and they'd be like, "Hey, you want a job?" I'm like, "No, I'm not calling for a job, dude. Seriously, you want a job? I would love to have you on board."
That's awesome.
I'm like, three pieces of business, 2 job offers, just from calling the people you know. And that was it's amazing. And I think it's probably the case for you that you generate a lot of your business, I'm going to bet, from your network of contacts. Is that right?
Yeah. So yeah, I got 2 businesses. One of them, we have 18 cold callers. So those 18 cold callers are generating leads for us. But the other business, which is the syndication, most of it is just calling contacts.
Which one generates more business for you? The 18 cold callers or Satch's diary of numbers?
It's different, man. I don't know how to quantify because they're different types of, I mean, I guess I could put a dollar sign to it, right? But it's they're different, like the ones that Satch is actively calling on people that I know is for the syndications. And obviously those are bigger deals, right?
Yeah.
And the other one is like doing this, the flips. So these guys 18 guys are calling leads.
So that's a little bit different because it's a little bit different. You're not typically buying a property that you're going to flip from somebody that you know typically.
Right.
That's a good point. Okay. All right. Because usually, but then again, a lot of times that flip may be, hey, I know a guy next door who has a house. Sometimes that's the case. But you were asking what do we automate a lot? In the end, we just automate kind of knowing who to call, but in the end, there's a lot of, I don't want to say brute force, but there's a lot of personal effort to make that happen. Like you have your 18 callers, and I'm sure you pick up the phone quite a bit yourself.
Yeah. I do. And I truly believe, so I build that business by talking to people. That's like the premise, right? Talk to people. And you just mentioned and I truly believe talking to people is the way to advance in any sort of business. Regardless of who you're talking to, you're always going to be talking to people, right? Yep. We connected. You immediately asked me, hey, what's your phone number? I gave him a phone number. You call me instantly, right?
That's right, because we were on Facebook. We didn't DM. I said, what's your phone number? Bam.
And that always sticks to me because I can tell who is the people that get on the phone and talk to someone right away, and they're not shy about it. And you will meet a lot of people that are afraid to pick up the phone and talk to someone, right? Sure.
That's right. Well, a perfect example, yesterday afternoon, we're at my son's soccer game, and halftime happens, and I pull out the phone just to see what's happened during the first half, and I pull it out, and there's an email there from somebody. I don't know who it is, and calling about one of our listings, which is most definitely an investment property. I mean, this thing won't qualify for financing. And we look at this, I'm like, it's a unique buyer. And so when I look at this, I show it to my wife, and I'm like, hey, what do you think? And she goes, well, they emailed you. And I was like, well, why didn't you call? I'm like, all right. So I pick it up and I call, and she's like, get out of here, go to the back. I'm like, I'm walking, I'm sitting around all the parents, and I got right. And it was funny. So I talked to the woman. She's from out of the area. She's calling, asking about this property. Her husband's a contractor, and they're looking for a property on the water that they could fix up and make their own, right? And it's the perfect house. And she goes, hey, thanks for calling me back. You'd be surprised, nobody calls back. I'm like, that does surprise me, because this is the business. I don't know how else you get business.
Right.
Why do you do that? So she's like, yeah, nobody else has called me back. I'm like, well, yay me, right? So,
that's awesome.
Now, as we speak right now, my wife is showing that woman by FaceTime, showing her property. So
that's awesome.
Based off of a phone call, picking it up and answering.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah. Dude, another thing that I try, and I tell my wife when we're driving, how there's those signs, those bandit signs to say, we buy houses cash, whatever, right? They essentially are doing the same business we're doing, right? But
Yeah, they were.
I tell my wife, and I said, this is how you know those people. People say that they're not successful in this business, but it's because they don't want to pick up the phone. And I said, we test it every time, and we call those signs, and nobody answers.
Yes.
And they never answer my phone call. And I tell her, how are they going to do business? They're not picking up the phone calls, you know? So, yeah, I 100% agree.
Dude, that's so true. And let's go on the Wayback Machine. So 3-4 years ago when I got into real estate. So I retired out of the Navy, got into becoming an airline pilot, you know, was doing that for a little bit. My son, let me tell you how I got into real estate. My son, who was 13 at the time, his name's Mitchell. He was 13 at the time. He was doing business on eBay, right? He's got a couple of eBay businesses, and he would go out. He would like go to garage sales, and he'd come home with a truckload of stuff. I'm like, wait, I mean, my garage is still full of things that would then get resold on eBay. And he would come home, and we'd be like, "What do you got there?" And he'd be like, "Oh, here, look at this. I got these old used wooden pencils." Nobody's gonna buy those. He's got this band of pencils wrapped in a rubber band, puts them on eBay, boom, sold, makes like $20. I'm like, how in the heck do you do that? And he's doing this and making, and so he's 13, he's making a whole bunch of money. And finally one day I go, dude, how much money did you make this month? And he goes, well, I don't know about this month, but in the last 3 weeks I made $1,000.
Wow.
Like, you made $1,000? And he goes, but Dad, that was gross, not net. I'm like, okay. All right. Well, what was your profit margin? His profit margin is through the roof. It's like
right.
50, 60, 70%, something ridiculous. I'm like, holy cow. I go, tell you what, let's go get into a legitimate business that we can scale. And so we called a friend of ours, local friend. He's a real estate investor. He's been flipping houses for 15 years. And he happens to be a Robert Kiyosaki facilitator, trainer.
Wow.
And so I go, Mark, let's go have some lunch. And we just unrelated. We're having lunch over something unrelated. And I go, hey, by the way, Mitchell's come up and he's talked to you about, you know, shadowing you. He goes, yes, he has talked to me about that. I'm like, yeah, I know. I would love it if he did that. You could show him how to do real estate. He goes, I got a better idea. Why don't you come to my seminar? It's in 3 weeks here, local area. You know, it's $300. Why don't you come in? I said, okay, I'll come do that. We come in and, you know, it's a 3-day seminar. My boy's 13 at the time. And dang, if he didn't stick through the whole 3 days, and he's getting up asking questions, right? Going up to the mic and asking questions and things like that. We're like, holy cow, really into it. So then we started getting into this. The next thing you know, I was like, wow, this is awesome. And we bought our first rental property, and then we got into that syndication first with our buddy there, and then we got into our first rental property on our own, and then we said, hey, let's get into another one, and then we said, hey, I'm just going to go get licensed, and hey, this is a great furlough protection plan. We'll get into real estate. This is better than retirement. And bang, COVID hits, and holy cow! Of course, that it got real, and I ended up stepping back. Didn't touch an airplane for 10 months out of choice. They said, hey, do you want to step away for a little bit? I'm like, yes, I'll take that. So I stepped away, took a little bit of pay for a little bit, and then nothing. And I said, I'll just go work on real estate. And sure enough, we built up our business, we started flipping houses and started building out some more rentals. And, you know, we got a handful. We've had some hits. We've had some misses. We got a couple properties one that we were flipping, and it went so poorly that we ended up, you know, paying off the contractor, having him sign a lien waiver so that he would just go away. And then we just put a sign in the yard and said, get rid of that thing for whatever we can. Took a loss on it and said, move on, you know, because we had such a bad time with it. And then we had another property where I just like, I'll take that one. I don't need a home inspection. It looks great.
How much money did you lose on that one?
Well, we still own that one. And so we put at least 10,000 into 15 maybe into that we were not anticipating. So it was a $200,000 property. We put about 10, 15 into it that we weren't expecting. I can tell you the numbers at home. I don't remember, but it's a rental. It's cash flowing. It's fine. We'll hold on to it. There's very few mistakes that time won't fix in real estate. And this one is absolutely recoverable from, but it was funny because unlike our other ones where they were cash flowing from day one, rented from the beginning, this one, we had a lot of trouble with the city inspection, and then the Section 8 inspection, and then, you know, hey, there's a water leak. What? No, we can't find it. I mean, it turns out there's not. I mean, it's just absolutely, it was a mess. Still isn't. But we're moving on.
Dude, you brushed off as if it wasn't a big deal, but I wanted to bring it back to what you just said there, that there's hardly anything that real estate won't fix with time.
That's
And
right.
I think many people sometimes when they're on the fence of whether or not to invest in real estate, as long as within certain variables there, right? If your underwriting is done correctly, and you account for all of the possible downsides, and there's really very real very small room for you to like go really bad on a deal, because even if you were to lose money on a flip, you can turn it around on as a rental, right? And eventually
Yeah.
the property will appreciate and you can
Yeah.
sell it. Worst case, you just get your money back. And was that really that bad? It
Yeah.
probably was just a learning lesson, and you did not lose any money and you moved on, right? Or maybe it appreciates more and then you just sell it for a profit, right?
That's right. Or like this, the one single family that I said we just put a sign in the yard and got rid of it after with the contractor issue. I mean, that one was that contractor found the property for us. So we're like, hey, great off market deal. We got it for a very good price. It wasn't a home run. It was a nice solid double, right? It was a good price. But it needed some work, and it was about 3 weeks of work. And after the 3-month point, we were still at about 1 week's worth of work done. And it was not good. And we had, I had contractors calling me, subcontractors calling up saying they were going to put a lien on the house, because they weren't getting paid by the general contractor, things like that. And so I'm not the type that goes out there and swings the hammer myself. I walk out and I'm like, hey, let's see what's going on with the property. It's a problem when your contractor always finds a reason to not meet you at the house.
Yeah, that's,
hey, I'm here.
That's
yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
You're like, it's not good. But in that case, when we did get to that point, the 3-month point, we said, boom, you're out of here, sign the lien waiver, go. And by the way, anybody listening, if you get into that, you're dealing with contractors, every time you do a draw and you pay them off, have them sign a lien waiver for work completed up to that point or for the complete job, so they don't come back to you and they can't put a lien on the house. So, because you got to do that. And we looked at that point where we said, hey, what do we do now? We could find a new contractor. We could finish it ourselves, just put the painting clothes on and start putting flooring in and tile it myself. Or we could just try to sell it and be done with it. We said, you know what? If we just sell this thing, we know we can quantify the loss and move on. But if we wanted to turn it into a win and hold on to it, it's going to be a lot of work. And risk versus reward, effort versus reward. We said, you know what? I can make more money on the next deal and just count my losses and move on, rather than just being stubborn and saying, I'm going to win. So it's a loss. Let's write off $10,000 and move on. Done. And we said, time to go on. And rough number, somewhere around there. But and that's what we did in that case. At the same time, we've had flips that were really, really good. So good that I'm like, I don't even want to share the number, where I'm like, that was really good. Real estate has been good to us. I mean, like I said, I'm an airline pilot. I'm a real estate investor and agent. Between all of our lines of income, I made more money in real estate last year than I did flying airplanes. Pretty good. And that was, I was getting not quite full-time pay. Let's be honest. I was probably getting half to 2/3. Because there was a long period of time where I would, if you're a line holder, you can drop some trips, get down lower. But I fly with guys all the time who have side businesses, who make it work. People in real estate all the time. I fly with people all the time who say, hey, I just bought my 12th rental property. Like, wow, holy cow. And that's not even their business. They don't even think of that as business, just a thing they do. And I flew with one guy who owns a bunch of multifamily in LA, right? And he's like, oh yeah, and my mother-in-law, she owns 1,000 doors. Like, it's just
very casual.
No big deal. 1,000 doors in LA. I'm like, yeah. Wow. Okay, how much equity do you have?
Right.
Wow. And so he was one of the first people I talked to for a long time about multifamily investing and syndication and raising money. And he would talk about how, well, we buy this And then, 2 years later, the bank is calling you and they're trying to throw money at, they want you to refinance. They want to give you money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I never really thought about that, but it makes complete sense. And so there we are, which is your line of work, because that's where you focus.
Yeah. What was your experience on your syndication? That you said the first deal you did was a syndication, right?
Yes.
The duplex.
Yeah, and that's what it amounted to, is that there's a group of people associated with the local private school. They wanted to buy a property near the school, to one day maybe have the option to sell it to the school, right? And so this group of people who are affiliated with the school said, hey, we want to raise a whole bunch of money. And they got it for a really good price. This is a very large duplex. We're talking like a 5,000 square foot duplex between both sides, and which is pretty big for this neighborhood. And I want to say, if fixed up fair value is probably 500, 600, I don't know, something along those lines. Got it for about 200, 240. I don't remember the numbers. I'm making the numbers up right now. It was somewhere along those lines, but we had a whole bunch of us throwing $20,000. And a couple of the guys are very involved with the management and the taxes and issuing the K-1 every year and everything like that. And they just manage this property, and it's write a check, be done with it. And that's all that experience is. I'm on the side of write a check, earn money. And that's a great experience, because in this one, it's not really a cash flow, because we don't see money every month. This is a equity play over time. So in this case, so that's my experience with that. And that was only because I happen to know people who are in the business.
Got it. And so that one's still, I'm assuming that's still not sold. You guys
That's right. We've been in that one, whatever it is, 3-4 years, and it's a long-term hold. Probably a 10-year time horizon, I'm guessing.
Wow. Okay. Do you know what are the projected returns on that?
You know what? We didn't even discuss that. We didn't talk about that. I have a whole bunch of documents where we said, hey, this is about where we're looking. It's not really going to cash flow. We're basically looking for a long-term equity play that maybe is, the school expands, maybe it's donated, all sorts of different things. We're looking for a return on our investment, but that's what they talk about.
Got it.
Yeah.
Dude, I got a few questions here before we wrap it up, and I'm just kind of curious. So, like, you are, say, on a trip, Guadalajara in Mexico. Yeah. Deals are happening. They don't stop, right? While you're out there flying. How are you handling that?
Well, if I'm hanging in the hotel room and the phone rings, I answer the phone. That's what it comes down to. If a lead comes in, or I need to handle a client or a seller or something, I handle it while I'm on the layover. I have, you talk about Guadalajara, Mexico. I got a mighty T-Mobile account, so it works great overseas. I have a great connection pretty much everywhere I go. I have a real good connection, so I'm able to do business from hotel rooms and airports pretty much all over the world. And I also leverage heavily on my wife's abilities, because, as I said, she's my partner, my teammate, and a fully licensed agent just like me. So when you talk to one of us, you get two of us, and that's how it works. And the big challenge is not keeping the deal going. The big challenge is the two of us communicating on what's going on. And that's something that we have to talk about. And we talked about in the pregame about how she and I are reevaluating where we want to take our business and how we want to do that. And part of that is that, how do we do that communication? How do we keep track? How do we service our clients? And how do we make sure we don't miss out on deals? Because I can sit there. I've had it more than once where I call somebody up and I'm like, hey, we talked a little while ago. Are you still interested in selling your property? I'm like, oh, well, I sold it to, Bob, the investor, 2 months ago. I'm like, I missed out, so I have to make sure that I keep up with people. And that's how I'm not sure. I completely got off track there on that conversation, but you were asking about how I do it from a hotel room. The answer is I just answer the phone and I keep going. And every day, I have a workflow every day where it's like, hey, call these people, right? And call people in this category, and I make that happen. And sometimes it's just text messages, right? And I just text you, hey, Satch, what's going on, man? Thinking about you, whatever the case is. Or, hey, keep this on your radar. This is coming next. Boom. And that's okay too.
Dude, what's the end goal for you here? I see a lot of drive coming from you from like an entrepreneurial side. Obviously, your son has it, right? He's been very driven from the stories you're telling me, which is pretty cool. But what's the end goal for you? You like this path you're going down, and you think that this is perfect, like having the part-time plus and flying and doing their business? Do you think you eventually want to drop the flying?
Well, I'd tell you this. I spent 24 years in the Navy and I made 7 deployments. I've spent a lot of time away at home, and then let's face it, I became an airline pilot who travels. That was probably not the best move on my part, right? You know, maybe I should have done something else, but this is the career I chose, and I'm on with it. But once I get to the point where I can say there's a path to replace this income that is solid, boom, here we go. It's time to go. Now, ideally, my number for that is basically, I have a number in my head where when I have enough, I'm going to air quote this, passive income that I make as much as I did when I was in the Navy, just on my passive income. Again, air quotes, passive income. I would say it's time to go, right? And it's really not that much, and it's really not hard to do. It's just a matter of getting to that point where we go, okay, let's go engage. Let's go do this, because I don't want to be away every weekend for the rest of my life. That's not what I want to do. And right now, that's how I feel. So we're going to eventually get to the point where we replace this, and we can do real estate as a income generating device. And that doesn't mean going out and taking listings and selling clients' properties, right? That's not income generating in the sense of continuous predictable income. You have to go out and hustle every day to generate clients and generate leads, just like going direct to seller. Eventually you want to get to the point where you can step back and just rely on your assets to generate income. And that's the goal. And basically, if over the next 10 years, I were to add as little as 1 single family rental per year, I actually reach that goal. It's really not that hard to get there. So ideally it'd be 1 a quarter, but we've had a little trouble lately with the fix and flip and the BRRRR strategy, only because it's, all our contractors are having trouble finding folks. I don't know if you're having the same problem.
Oh yeah.
And it's not, I don't care who it is. You talk to somebody and they're like, yeah, I'm having some issues getting folks. And so we're finding that, my son, his first rental property that he has, I never even told you this story, but he's fixing that one up right now. He turned 17 this week. 3 days from now, he turns 17, and he's owned that property for 2 years, which he got by cold calling, by the way. So he called, nice. Negotiated him over the phone over 3 weeks, lowballed him. All right, so I'll go through it. So he has the number. He calls the guy. He says, what was his name? I don't remember. He goes, hey, Bob, I see you got this property. You had it listed on the market. It expired at $150,000 about a year ago. I was wondering if you'd take 105. He's like, no, I won't take 105. Don't call again. Boom. Says, I'll call you in a week. Calls him back in a week. Says, hey, I'll give you 110. No. Calls back a week later. Says, I'll give you 115. He says, it's less than I paid for it. He goes, or less than I owe on it. He says, well, what do you owe on it? Says, oh, I owe 125. All right, I'll give you 125. Deal. Boom. So now he gets this property for 125. I look at it. He looks at it. We get Greg out there to do the home inspection. I'm like, oh my God, this place. No, you can't get this. He's like, I'm going for it. I'm using my money as the down payment. And we helped him with the financing on the back, on the rest. He goes interest only to pay us back. Cash flowing a bunch every month he's got a property manager managing his Section 8 tenants in there, including all the repairs, to the point where we're having to call the property manager on the backside. And we're like, hey, property manager, hey, what'd you just tell Mitchell there? I need to find out. And he's handling it. It's great. And like, he calls me at work one time. He goes, hey, Dad, I got a problem. I go, what's that? And he goes, yeah, the property manager wants to charge us $850 for the kitchen floor. I go, what are you talking about? He says, we're putting a kitchen floor in over at Surrey Street. I'm like, what kitchen floor? He goes, it needs a new kitchen floor. It's going to cost you $850? He says, yeah. I go, what's the problem? He goes, the original quote was $800. Like, okay, I paid $850. Got it. So he's like, just make it happen. So he says, all right, I wanted to run it by you. I'm like, okay. So he's running all that. And then they just moved down. He just refinanced that thing. And can I share the number? I mean, is that all right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
The thing appraised at $245. He bought it for $125. We put $7,000 in day one. He's put another $5,000-10,000 in over time. And that just appraised for $245. Now he's got a DSCR loan, so he didn't finance that much out, but he got bunch of money out, so he gets a whole bunch of cash in hand. And so we went out and he tried to buy one last week that we had, but that one we ended up saying this is not good for a rehab. This is a tear down, and so we ended up walking away from that deal. But that's the bottom line is he's sitting there going, he's almost 17. He's already got a first one, getting his second one here shortly, hopefully. And I'm like, man, just do one a year, and you're gonna be a millionaire by the time you're 30, no problem. Yeah. And he's like, what? Why just one? And that's kind of how I feel. But for me, it's just one a year is all I need to get where I'm going to go, and I'd be fine with that. But we're trying to do faster than that.
Dude, one thing you love that you just said about your son is that he got that cash, that refi cash out of the house. And instead of saying, I was waiting to see what you were going to say there, because you said he took the money and I said, let's see where he goes with this, because he was either going to go and buy something nice and party or buy another rental. And you said he's looking for other properties to put that money down for, right? And dude, that shit, I'm like, oh man, I have to have your son here on the show, man.
Well, I would, except that he's in school today. He's got soccer after school.
Dude, we got to get him on the show, man. I think he's doing a lot of good things, man. That's awesome, dude.
Well, I'm sure he'd love to do it. It'd be a lot of fun, because he I'm very proud of my son. And people say, "Oh, you guys did a great job." I'm like, it wasn't me. If anything, he's the one who pushes me. I mean, we've got a couple of our rentals that are only there because he says, "Dad, you got to make the offer today." I mean, we got a couple of the one in the center there is the one that he owns, and then there was our first one, and there's our second one, and then we stopped putting pictures on the wall. But those first two, he's like, "Dad, you got to make the offer. You got to do it, Dad. Stop waiting." I'm like, "All right, fine." And now we got those things, and holy cow, what some of the best financial decision we made, and that's from him. So yeah, it's all that kid.
Yeah, I love it.
I don't know if I answered your question. I think your question is, where do we see this going? And the answer is get more rentals and create cash flow. And we're selling retail real estate in order to generate the income to replace flying. How's that?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, you sort of touched on that, and I think so I wrote on my notes, kind of tying into what you just said, was that that's one of my missions to do with airline pilots, is because I was there, right? I flew for 7 years. I know the lifestyle, and I know how many trips I went on that I did not want to go. Yeah. And I want to provide an environment and a lifestyle for pilots that they can generate enough cash flow from investing. And I hope they decide to invest in a syndication. They don't have to be with me. I don't care who they invest with. I just want to put the message out there that that's a good strategy for them to, like, hey, focus on what you do best, which is flying. There's a syndication strategy that you can use with, like, don't have to spend your days off going at it, but you can put your money there. You can start generating cash flow from these investments, and eventually work your way up to where, hey, I don't need to work 4 trips a month to generate the income that I need to live, right? I'm okay with doing 2. I'm okay with doing 1. I don't want to work any trips this month, So that's my mission with this. Yeah. And
so when you're working with your clients, do you have to be an accredited investor?
You don't have to. Most of the deals I do are 506C, which are for accredited investors, but I do 506B deals as well, which accept non-accredited investors.
Okay, gotcha. Because I always anytime I talk about raising money, so private money is a big thing across real estate investing, right? And I always talk to people whenever they're talking about how do they get started and everything. I always look at them and go, look, every time you go to work, you're probably sitting 3 feet to the left or right of a potential millionaire. And you just have no idea. You don't know how much money that person has sitting there. And there's only one way to find out. And so I tell them all the time, like, just ask them straight up, and you'd be amazed. People might get uncomfortable in that case. Maybe they're not for you, but there's a lot of people who would love to tell you how much money they have. Right. In which case, talk about money and figure it out. It's only uncomfortable if you make it, in my opinion. So I talk to people about it. Obviously you have to be careful. I'm not even sure what the requirements are. At some point you have to be some sort of license in order to go out and say, hey, Satch, I would love to raise money. So, I can't just post an ad on the internet saying, hey, I want somebody to send me money. Right.
Right.
You
right.
can't.
Right. Yeah. So going back to that, there's some SEC regulations. So you can't just raise money for the sake of raising money and then give it to someone else to put it on a deal. Because that would be like brokering. You're brokering the money, right? So I'm part of the teams that run the syndication. So by me being part of the team, I can bring equity from investors, but I have other duties within that team that by me being part of it, I'm not just raising money. The other way, so we have, there's this 506B deal that we're doing, and it's a fund. And the way we got around that SEC regulation is we form an entity. It's a fund of funds. So like I form an entity, people invest in my fund, and then we use that fund to invest in the main fund.
I gotcha.
So those are like the two ways you can get around that.
So otherwise, you do capital funds, as you called it. Is that right? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. Capital funds. Yeah.
Gotcha. In my mind, I've always done it. I've always seen it a little bit differently, where every investment deal is its own unique LLC buying this property with its own checking account. And you go, okay, but it piles in here. Yours is a little different model.
I've done both. Yeah. So I do most of the deals that I do are the ones you just described. There's one LLC for the one deal, and that's it.
Yeah.
One bank account, everything goes in there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the way that I think. I know other people have. I've got a couple of friends of mine who have come up to me and asked me about this type of stuff, and there's one guy who's a lot like you, where he's like, I got this great idea. We're gonna do a fund and let's do it and invest. And I'm like, I really don't want to do that.
No, it's I can see how it sounds complicated, for some people, and then it's like, all right, well, then there's like layers to it, right? And so it just. That's why I don't do that too much, and I don't even push it. We just did it for this because it was just a fund. But yeah, other than that, everything is kind of like the one you mentioned. All of the apartments that I have been the way you're mentioning.
So what if somebody were to invest in in a deal for yours? What's the timeline of getting paid out? What's your what's the investment goal? So let's say I think you just posted a property that you were looking to raise money for on Facebook the other day, didn't you?
We closed on that one last Tuesday. That was a 350 unit in Houston that we closed, and the timeline to start getting paid for that one is 6 months. So 6 months after we close, which we already closed last Tuesday, then cash flow starts coming in, and that one is paid out quarterly. So every quarter you get your cash flow distributions. The end goal is all of the deals that I do are value add deals. So it just fancy word for saying we're flipping a big apartment complex, right? And then so that's what we're doing. So in between 2 to 3 years, we're turning this place around, increasing the revenue and reducing expenses, improving the operation, and then just selling it to an end buyer for a higher.
When you do that, do you leave that end buyer with an opportunity for continued value add? Do you leave some of the units unfixed so that they go, there's still an opportunity here for you?
Yeah, it depends. So some of the units will be we may only do 25% of the units. And then we say, hey, we've proven that we can raise the rents, and then just leave them for them to finish up the rest. Or the one that we just did, this 350 unit that we just closed last Tuesday is a Class A property. It was just built in 2021. There's really cosmetically, there's nothing to do to the property other than we're just going in. And developers tend to just fill the units up with, they give a lot of concessions. They rent the units at below market rent just to get them filled up. So our value plan there, our business plan is just to turn the units around, eliminate concessions, bring up the rents to market rent.
Yeah.
And that in itself will bring us to what it should be for the revenue, improve the operation, put the operation team in place how it should be. We're gonna add some amenities like pergolas and fancy amenities for that, but that's really it on that one.
Interesting. Okay, well, I tell you what, it sounds pretty cool. It sounds like there's a potential to make a lot of money.
Yeah, and the goal, you asked earlier what the goal is. The goal is anytime we do one of these deals, we project 2x equity multiple. So if you put 50 grand between cash flow and the capital distributions at the end, you will have made an extra $50,000.
So I put in $50,000. I'm going to get a paycheck, and by the end, 2-3 years later, in total, I'm getting 100 back after my quarterly payment. That's pretty good. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's good return.
Yeah. And
where do I send my check?
Yeah, one of the things I like the most, man, and I don't want to turn this podcast into me, but is that it's very weighted towards the distributions for the guys running the deal on the GP side is very weighted towards the performance of the asset rather than us just charging a fee for putting the deal together. So like if you put your money in 401k, you're getting charged management fees regardless of whether you're doing good or bad, right? You can be going spiraling down to the ground and you're still going to get charged. So in this case, like there's really no, other than the acquisition fee we get at the front, there's really no other payout until the end that we sell the asset. So the investors make the money first and then the GPs makes money after that.
Yeah.
So I invest my own money as a passive investor in our own deal. So like I'm on both sides.
Now, if I were to invest with you, could I invest from a Roth IRA or from like a solo 401k? Could I do that?
Yep.
Not a problem. Okay.
1031 exchange or
401k. Exchange. Yep. Yeah. I have a client of mine right now that is selling us property in Oregon that once that thing sells, he's going to 1031 it into an apartment building here in the Norfolk market, most likely. So and the funny thing about, and the great thing about that one, it's not funny, it's great, is, he's not some multimillionaire. He's not a lawyer. He's a working man. And, I don't know how much he makes. Actually, I could look it up. He's an active duty sailor, right? He's an E6 and the guy's making E6 pay. And he and his wife own a property everywhere they've moved in the Navy. And now, my wife is calling. I got to hit decline on that. And everywhere they've gone in the Navy, he's bought a place, and now he's going to start selling those and leveraging them up. He's going to start owning apartment buildings. And when I first told him about how this works, I'm like, let's talk 1031 exchange. You can do this. And he calls me the next day. He's like, dude, I couldn't sleep last night. He's like, how do I start?
Yeah, the gears turning.
Here's how we start. Step one, boom. And we got started on it. It's awesome. It's good stuff.
Love it, man. Well, Craig, we're reaching here at the end of the podcast. I loved everything you had to say, man. You're probably the longest one I've ever had just because I don't want to stop it.
I do have the gift of gab. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Dude, how can people find out more about you?
They can go to my website, craigsnyderteam.com, craigsnyderteam.com, or you can call. I don't know if you can put my phone up there, but my cell phone directly, 757-550-7122. And or you can follow me on Instagram, Craig Snyder VA. That's Craig Snyder, Virginia. At Craig Snyder VA is a good one on Instagram.
Love it, man. We're going to put all those three sources to get in contact with you on the show notes so that people can get easy access to you. And Craig, it was awesome having you in the show. We'll have you again. And dude, I for sure want to have your son. If you and your son want to be on the show, that would be awesome, man.
I would love to do that. We're absolutely going to have him on here. That would be great. And oh, by the way, this really motivates me. You and I talked last week. I'm going to read. I've been doing a podcast on the F-14, and that just wrapped up. The last episode drops this next week, and so it's time to move on. And I am going to start my own Real Estate for Pilots podcast, just like you, but it's obviously going to have a different flavor because I'm not into multifamily syndication. I'm doing other stuff. So we're going to have, I think we're going to have different clients, maybe the same people, but a different method.
Yeah. Love it. Hey man, I always believe there's a lot more to go around that we can even handle.
Yeah. So you're spot on. That is absolutely true. Absolutely true. The only thing I got to figure out is how the heck I'm going to get this thing edited because that is not my strong suit. I get that. Got to go hire some VA or something. I don't know how to do that. You do that. You'll tell me offline.
Yeah, I'll tell you. All right, Greg. It was nice having you, man.
Satch, thanks for having me. I greatly appreciate it.